Hello there, welcome to Bitcoin Bankers, and today we're going to look at the Bitcoin price, do a review of the last week or so, because where I haven't done any videos, the market's been quite slow, so it's no point sort of getting on talking about the same price that it's at every day when there's nothing to talk about. Like, as you know, I also don't cover news reports. I think the majority of the media across the planet in any kind of function is completely ridiculous. They're all doing what they can to maintain a viewer base, so they either spend money and they're making money from advertising and things, and they do not have your interests at heart. They don't have my interests at heart, so I don't watch it at all. To me, the important thing is price movement, and what the sort of fundamentals behind an investment is, okay, and what's kind of driving the market up and down. All right, so why don't you click that like, click that subscribe. Let's go have a look at the charts. We'll have a bit of a look through, might have a look at a couple of cryptos as well, other altcoins and things, but generally they're all sort of following Bitcoin, because they are shitcoins. They don't really have any momentum of their own, apart from when everyone's just feverish and bullish to sort of buy something and push the price up. Without Bitcoin, most of these things, 99% of them would just collapse. 80% of them at the moment are worth nothing anyway. It's just a bunch of developers sitting in a higher space and having everyone send them money that they lock away and just pay themselves with until something happens. That's about all that's going on. So most of these projects are shit. However, you can still, as a trader, you can still maybe have an opportunity to buy in and buy something and make a bit of money off it. No problem there, nothing wrong with that. Anyway, let's get to the markets and have a bit of a look. Okay, so we're on the weekly here. Okay, and as you can see, really not a lot been going on the last few weeks, just some volatility and things. There's a problem overall in the market at this point in time, and we kind of hit this occasionally when it consolidates for longer amounts of time. And it's basically what's happening is, you're having people maybe accumulate some Bitcoin. You're having the whale kind of shake things up and do some selling. You have a lot of sort of less experienced traders trying to pump markets up and jump in with their leverage and stuff and try and make some profit, and they end up getting wrecked. Because they don't understand what this is going on with the market. Not everyone does, and you can't say that anyone actually understands fully what's always going on, because we don't have a map of the entire planet of investors and things and know what's really going on. So we need trend lines. We need a few, maybe one or two tools to usually help guide us through what is happening, which is why we use them as traders. If you're an investor, it doesn't matter too much. You probably keep holding. It's up to you. What we're seeing on the weekly, there's still this head and shoulders that's sort of playing out here. This side of the shoulder, I think, is dragging on a little bit too long. We've got almost 8-9 weeks now where it's just been sort of volatility within a channel, but it's still just sitting in this mid-range, which is why I originally put the line there. So let's see how we get above it. Can it sustain that and break the 42 again? Was it just a little dump and are we going off? It's fallen under that, and I think as time goes on, people are not so much losing confidence, but what's happening is everyone's sitting on the sidelines. They're waiting for something to happen. Waiting for someone to kind of make a move, and they rely on a lot of the small-time sort of traders and things rely on the news. As I said on this channel at the beginning, I don't rely on news at all. I think it's all bullshit and it cannot be trusted, because they report one thing today and then tomorrow and next week they report the exact opposite. And it does your head in. So I don't pay any attention to news. I don't pay any attention to the YouTube fudders and FOMOers and the big influencers. All they do is influence the idiots who know nothing about it and just want to jump in and think they can make profit every day. That's all they influence, is the idiot. If you know what you're doing, you're not going to be influenced by idiots, and you're not going to be influenced by those who influence others. You're actually going to be either protecting your investment or making money from it. The rest will lose. That's their problem. So at the moment, we've been sitting for this entire week literally on this price here, which is so small. It's just, like I said, a lot of people are just sitting on the sidelines. Maybe the larger companies and so forth are starting to buy. But the problem is we keep dumping down to this sort of $30,000 to $32,000 region, but it's not staying there at all. It keeps pumping back up, sitting between 33 and 35 sort of thing around this area. But as this continues, more and more people just say, well, there's nothing I can really do here. There's not a lot of gain, so they're going to use more leverage to try and get a bit more profit. Better off just staying out. Okay, so we need some more confirmation on what's going to happen next. Okay, can we rely on volume? Not essentially. Where's my volume's gone now? That volume's just disappeared again. Such is TradingView. But yeah, in these times of consolidation, I'm starting to get frustrated now. It annoys the piss out of me. It gets boring. I need movement, but this is not safe movement. This is not safe areas to be trading in. The more you consolidate, the greater the risk and the less the opportunity. So why would I sit in this and trade? As you can see, there's really not a lot going on. So as it keeps dumping down into this region, there's a whole lot of buy orders here, here and down, all right, and there's a big build up, but nothing's actually happening. We can see on the sidelines here, look, there's movements of 0.5%. Bitcoin's gone up a little, it goes down a little bit. But people are trying to drive it up. There's people are trying to get the hopium going. They're trying to get the FOMO going. They're trying to encourage people to buy in, and use news like Paraguay's now adopted Bitcoin, which has kind of, I think, helped this last sort of pump over the last 2 or 3 days. Things like that, and there's just not enough juice in it. Okay, what we need is for something to break, and at the moment we're waiting for these price targets to drop. Is it going to break these moving averages here? Because I tell you what, this is a very strong support, and it's getting stronger and stronger as time goes on. But contradictory, it's getting a little weaker as time goes on, because the more it keeps hitting this region, the more it's going to try and break it. But that's the funny thing about it, isn't it? So, we can go and have a look at the daily, but I'm going to have a look at the monthly first. All right. On the monthly, again, you can see it's just sort of taken the edge off. It's had a chop down. Still sits in this region. Really hasn't moved anywhere now for almost 2 months. Really hasn't done a lot at all. Personally, I would have liked to have seen it come down here. I think it should have come down here, but because everyone's sort of got these buys in this region, it's keeping it from really realizing its full price discovery. Okay, Bitcoin needs to be able to move. It needs to be able to breathe. But we do have times like this. You can see in this sort of period here, here's 2 months here where it really just didn't do anything. It had the moving average here. We knew it kept support. It didn't have that support. It broke down. This back here, this is a $20,000 Bitcoin run back in 2017. And that's the dump. It came down, had a good sell-off. Everyone was able to see what Bitcoin was doing, and people jumped in and started buying again. And this was the beginning of that bull run. Sorry, a lot of people take it from here. I prefer to take it from here, because you can clearly see there was a strong run up. People were getting excited. I think Michael Saylor was getting it around here, and getting it around here again. But it came back down. It hit the moving averages. Then we had the COVID dump. This is the COVID dump. And then off they went. Now that was plenty. These 2 areas was more than enough for Bitcoin to sort of say, I've had my sell-offs, I'm going. Let's go for a big run. But we're not getting that here. This is just sitting on the moving average. It hasn't even come down to touch this moving average. This moving average is at 28,000. We had a dip down, sort of nearly touch it, but it hasn't done anything since. And it really needs to come down, clear out a whole lot of sort of selling orders, pick up a whole lot of buy orders, and then we can decide, is the buying strong enough for it to start taking off, Or are people still hesitant? Do they still think that it's going to go down further to sort of this region, or even the $20,000 region, the $15,000 region? That's what we need to find out. And we're not finding this out while it's sitting here, and people keep trying to keep the price inflated. That's what I believe is going on. People are trying to keep this inflated and avoiding a bigger drop. For whatever reason, maybe a lot of people and larger investors got in around this region. They don't want to see it go down. So a lot of older Bitcoin traders, and since myself, we got in. I got in back here. Yeah. So, a lot of these people who are getting in late don't want the price to drop because they're afraid they're going to lose, and then they sell out. So I think there's a lot of fear in the market trying to keep this price inflated, when it's healthy for it to drop down and have a sell-off, okay? This is healthy, especially for something that runs up, 6, 8x, and then sort of, wears itself out and pulls back. So we need to have this sort of bigger sell-off. I would have been happier to see it come down in this candle and come down to here, and then kind of, we can make a decision whether it's going to go lower or higher. And the decision would have probably happened a little bit more fluently than what's happening now. So what we have is constipation. Let's go to the daily. We have investor and trader constipation, but the price, Bitcoin itself, is fundamentally very strong because we know we're on the cusp. And this is the thing, everyone knows we're on the cusp of larger companies around the globe getting in, which means massive runs up later. And that's great. I'm looking forward to that. But we need to resolve this problem, okay? And now a lot of people say, well, consolidation, correction can happen through price dropping down, or it can happen over time with consolidation. But I still don't think there's enough courage, I'll put it that way, for people to jump in and be ready to buy. I still think a lot of people are expecting it to sort of see whether we want to break this or go down a bit more. But as I've said, we have such strong support around this $32,000 range. It just, no matter what, it just doesn't seem to break. That's about the only bullish thing for me that's going in Bitcoin's favor right now. The fact that, let's get rid of this. The fact that, it is maintaining this support for a long amount of time and consolidating here over time. It's somewhat encouraging and somewhat bullish. If it's not breaking this, we've had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, at least 5 or 6 attacks. Normally after 3 or 4, it'll break down. But I should say dips, not attacks. But at the end of the day, it's constantly maintaining this strong support, and it just doesn't break down any lower than this region here. We did have a quick drop to the 28. Would have been great if you bought in there and held till the 35. I think I got in this one here, went for a little run, and that was about it. Because there's still just not a lot of confidence here that can push Bitcoin up. I just don't think it's ready to move up just yet. I think, judging by our stochastic here and my own personal settings that I use, there is more buying, and I think we're going to test this 36,000 maybe one more time, maybe this week. And it could come with the unlocking. A lot of people are thinking the unlocking GBTC Bitcoin is going to cause it to sell off. A lot of people, that means a lot of people either take profit or get scared. But once that unlocks, we'll have to wait and see. That could cause a little bit more of a buy. I think maybe people will get excited, maybe have a bit of a buy. We'll have to wait and see. Still think there's a few more days of this upside. What is my outlook? What is my outlook? Okay. I think we'll get a little bit more of a pump up. It's going to test these lower regions here. And I think it's going to run out of steam and eventually just start sort of falling down again. Depends how strongly this can go. It's looking pretty strong at the moment, so I definitely think we're going to challenge this 36 range, but not just yet. Might get a bit of a drop down and then up, So that's in the next day or two. And then I think we'll start to wane off. And then we're going to I think we're probably going to challenge this this line here, this 30,000, even 32,000. I think we might challenge that over the next 5 days. Okay, so something to be aware of. As I said, probably going to get a challenge here, and then maybe come back down and challenge there. Maybe that's possible. Okay, it's likely what I'm seeing here. So one thing you've got to be careful of is that when you start getting these kind of candles like this could be a evening star sort of popping up, and then we could get a dump again. Okay, or if this was further down, if it was more like this, where it's had a pump, and then it's sort of settling off, and then a pump again, and then if it was settling off again, I'd say, it's probably going to go for another test up. But this could be a rising star, evening star, whatever you want to call it, which would mean maybe a bit more of a dump down. On the daily, probably not. This is why trading is so hard, guys. It's just risk. And at this point in time, this area is just far too risky for me to have a trade that I would feel comfortable sitting in for either a few days or even a few hours. It's just not strong enough, So I just have to wait. I just sit and wait. It's up to you what decisions you want to make. If you're an investor, you probably shouldn't have bought here. You should have bought here and then jumped out here, or here, and you'd be fine. If you're a sit and wait kind of person, I bought it, I'm going to hold it for 5 years, then this shouldn't matter. In 5 years, you're going to be a very happy person. Really, you don't need to worry. The fundamentals of Bitcoin are strong, okay? Very strong. And I think Bitcoin's going to make some moves in the near future that will just really shock a lot of people, and that's bullish, and good bullish moves. But we need to get through this region first. We need to resolve our issue. Okay, we need to resolve whether this is going to really kick off a full, more of a stronger bear market down to these regions, or is it just a correction? Okay, now one thing too, people talk about crash. What's the difference between a crash and a correction? Okay, a correction is where we've had a bullish run, it corrects the price because it's got too hot, it cools off, sells off, and then keeps going. Yeah, that's what a correction is. A crash is where price dumps based on fundamentals having some kind of systemic failure, a loss of confidence, overvaluation, that is just based on maybe some sort of fraud. If you go have a look at 2009 and the GFC, 2007-2009, that was a systemic failure. Banks were issuing loans to anyone that came and asked for them, okay? And they were giving loans out to people who could not afford to pay back those loans. In the meantime, a lot of the big investors and the hedge funds and stuff were shorting the fact that this was going to happen. It's kind of what the Big Short's about. Not fully, but it's connected to it. And you had other people creating Ponzi schemes, just spreading money around, like Bernie Madoff. He made off with everyone's money. Bernie Madoff. So there was a systemic failure of just greed, stupidity, bad economic decisions, and everyone lost faith in the system, and the system crashed. That is a crash. It's based on systemic failure and lack of confidence, or a break in confidence. We do not have a crash in Bitcoin. Bitcoin has never crashed. It is corrected, okay? So these corrections that we're seeing are based on overheating, big bullish runs, overheating, it pulls back, but fundamentally Bitcoin is very, very strong. You got nothing to worry about if you're holding for a long time. You really have nothing to worry about. I believe it could come right back to here, come right back to 12,000. You'll still be okay because fundamentally Bitcoin is strong and has a lot of confidence behind it. Okay. I mean, a guy like Michael Saylor doesn't spend $3 billion on Bitcoin if it's worth shit, if it's not worth anything, okay? You have other people out there, who are starting this meme that Bitcoin's past its day. It's only just got started, okay? So, don't listen to all the shit, okay? Just focus on your price, focus on your plan of investing or your plan of trading. That's what you need to do. What I might do is that this channel, I think, is pretty much ended. So I'm going to get rid of that, and we'll leave it at that for Bitcoin. We're just going to have to wait and see where it's going. Essentially, you do have, these big kind of triangles happening here. You could make a triangle like that. It's not the best, and then one down here. She's going down, Not the best. If you want to make that smaller, we can make that a bit smaller. Okay, this is what's happening at the moment. Probably going to test this level here and keep pumping through it. So we got this kind of thing here, but it's more likely going to come up and then just keep going down and test that and dropping down. So it might not be till August that we see a dump, and it'll probably coincide with something in the market. So at the moment, it's just a play and sit and wait game, okay? All these other coins are going to play along with it and keep doing pretty much the same thing that they're doing, okay? Here's Dogecoin. If you want to have a look at Dogecoin, it might have a little pump here up to this moving average. You might be able to get something out of that on the weekly. Not a lot happening, not looking good. Not very strong, but I don't have any stochastic here. There's not enough history here. These little sort of tap downs might show that there's a bit more of an opportunity for it to sort of strike back up, but the market has to be a lot more bullish than it is now for this to happen. Let's have a look at XRP and all these terrible shit coins first. Still not a lot happening. We'll probably move this to here now. I'm going to move this around a bit. It should still probably be there more, but that's broken through, so probably heading down a bit further. On the weekly stochastic, it's sort of bottoming out, but that doesn't always mean that it's going to just suddenly bounce back up. So it's not looking too great. Overbought on the daily, so it might have a little bit more of this upward action, but it's going to sort of run into some trouble, I think, when it starts hitting previous resistance, and probably dump off. Let's look at Cabana. Very interesting one. Following a bit of a pattern of Ethereum, actually, where it came back and dumped down. It's followed this trend line back up and lost a bit of confidence. Not looking too good at the moment. It's probably going to have a bit more of a stronger rise. It might come back and try and, if it can get through this band of averages, it might come back and try and sort of fight in, try and break above this line here, but it's going to need a lot to do that. I don't think it'll make it that high. On the weekly, sort of bottoming out, but I think maybe it's heading for something. If you're a long-term holder of Cabana, I got a little bit, not a lot, but I'm happy to let it sit. It has gone down quite a bit. I think I got in at $1.45 American, which is about $1.45, $1.50. I got in about $2.04 Australian, whatever you want to work that out at. Something like that, $1.90, $2.04, something like that. Australian, that's where I got in. And I'm happy to just hold it. I got in sort of back here. I did enjoy run up, I sold it off, then I bought back in down here, and then it just kind of hasn't really gone anywhere since then. So, look, it's still holding strong in this moving average here. The weekly, it's still got a bit more to sort of come down. It is holding its own pretty strong against the sort of fall in Bitcoin, but we have to see what it's going to do with Bitcoin, The daily, we were looking at this before, bit more of a sort of uptrend maybe. It's just got a lot of resistance against it, but it might sort of have a bit of a bounce up this week, see where we go. If you want to trade, you can probably jump in and you might get, let's have a look. There's a 5% gain possibility there, but it's a bit of a risk. Again, we're at a time when the market is very risky for cryptos and altcoins and things like that. You don't want to try and chase a price. You just want to try and find an area that's reasonably good. You might want to put a buy order in around $1.14 in case it dumps down there. On the 4 hour, again, starting to move in. There's still a fair bit more upside buying, but there's a lot of resistance here. So, again, it's not worth the risk, really. You just have to decide whether it is. Something could come along and encourage the market and it'll bump. But at this point in time, that's where we're at. Ethereum, pretty much following the same pattern again. Let's go out to have a bit more of a weekly look. So the weekly, not that strong. We're having a bit more, people are starting to sort of come in and maybe look at trying to get in and buy in, but you still have that K line coming down and really forcing that on the shorter term, so forcing that down. The price itself, though, there is a possibility they can start to sort of have a bit of resurgence and try and attack this line again. So it might be an opportunity for a decent trade there. On the lower time frame, the daily, again, like Cardano, I would say, if you want to make a trade and think it's going to have a bit of a run up, there's a very high risk, but I don't know if it's going to make that good, but I would set a marker probably around here, 23.02. That's $150. You've got 10 of them. It's $1,500 trade, and that might last. If you can put that in, let that run. If you're lucky, again, it's all dependent on Bitcoin. But if you're lucky, you might pull 1,500 over 4 days. See how you go. For me, probably too great a risk. That's everything at the moment, guys. I think maybe if we just have a look at the stock market, this thing just keeps going up no matter what. I think there's just so much bullshit being pumped into this. It's full of just shit and wind, mate. It's full of shit and wind. This stock market. How can the world's leading stock market continuously go up when there's large portions of America who just aren't working? They're being handed money, so there's no production really going on. There's massive demand for jobs and no one's taking them because they make more sitting at home. A country can't grow on that. That's not good fundamentals for a country. And yet, as long as they keep printing money and sending it into the stock market, and every company keeps buying their own shares back, this is going to just keep going up until it's getting parabolic now anyway. If you have a look, it's starting to sort of reach a parabolic phase. It's going to start hitting a parabolic phase next and going up stronger, and eventually it'll go whoop, bang. So whether it makes that or not, we'll have to wait and see. But for now, pretty bullish on the stock market here. That's the daily. Let's have a look at the weekly. Price still keeps moving up a bit, but the sentiment, I think people are getting a little bit cautious. I think people are a little bit afraid. Not as keen, but hey, we don't know what's going on behind the scenes there. It's such a labyrinth. I would be very, very cautious, but it's up to you if you want to trade that. I think it will definitely have another big pop up. However big that will be, I don't know. But it looks more than likely she's sort of heading up a bit longer. The monthly, she's really starting to get overbought now. It's pulling away, but I think maybe what could be happening is a lot of the stock market, they know people are starting to get Bitcoin's attention, so they're trying to probably pump the price up to get people back into the market and back into buying, to sort of maybe have a bit of competition with Bitcoin a little bit and Bitcoin's interest. So we'll have to wait and see where that goes, but the monthly is a very slow one. Anyway, guys, that's where I'm going to tie it up now. Thanks for watching, thanks for liking, subscribing, use the bell button, you get notifications, all that sort of stuff. I'm not here to blow smoke up your ass, I'm here to sort of help warn you and guide you where I can. You got to be careful, okay? This place is full of fraud, It's full of people bullshitting. All we do here is talk about price, where it could go. I don't say it's legal advice. I don't say it's entertainment. I don't say anything. I'm just looking at some candles, and we're talking about where opportunities might be. Okay, so that's all I can give. That's all I'm going to give. I don't really tell you exactly what I'm doing because I keep that to myself. But I'm just saying, here's where I would probably take a trade. Here's where it's too risky. And right now with Bitcoin, go back and have a look again. It is too risky to be looking at any kind of decent trades or putting my money into it and holding it there, hoping that it's going to sort of break these boundaries. I don't think it is. We'll get some little pumps and things, but I do not see Bitcoin sort of getting to 40,000 by the end of July. I don't. If you think different, go for it. Anyway, guys, that'll do it. All good today. Hope you have a good one. Stay safe. Keep your head clear and your ears open. All right? Thanks.